Welcome to the Groupchat, a podcast hosted by Vic Kane, Pav Toure and Sunny Singh. This podcast will talk about all the things that matter, right here and now. We'll discuss and debate what's happening in popular culture, music, dating, and the craziness of everyday life. You've officially been added to the Groupchat.
Rememberize.
Making up my own words here.
Rememberize. All right, here we go, boys. Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the In the Group Chat podcast with myself, Pav, Sunny, and Vic. Now, lads, we left off the last episode talking about racism that people had suffered. So, for example, racism within whites and black people, racism between white people and brown people. But now I want to talk about racism within brown people. So, for example, the racism that you'll see between Indians and Pakistanis, or religious racism, so Sikhs and Muslims. But let's kick off with racism within Indians and Pakistanis. And I wanted to ask you both, have you guys ever suffered racism from Pakistanis, being Indians?
So this is an elaboration from what you had asked on the last episode, right?
Right,
It's
yeah.
where we're talking about, okay, you felt racism in a general standpoint, and now are we feeling racism? Have we experienced racism between like other brown people, essentially?
Essentially, yeah.
I don't know. Vic, what do you think?
Personally, I have experienced it. Mainly, I guess, the whole thing with the big cricket feud in India and Pakistan.
Yeah,
at school.
Notorious India-Pakistan cricket.
Yeah, that's always been a thing at school where, like, you know, there's this obvious divide that starts forming, you know, around the time when it's to do with any sort of sport, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and it's about like who you support and, you know, who's superior to the other, and then that superiority carries on into every single person, individual, and like country involved. You know, I think it goes a little bit too far than what it needs to go by.
It's a fierce rivalry, isn't it?
Yeah, and we tend to forget it's just a game, it's just a sport, but when someone says that, it's like, no, it's about history.
Could you class that as cricket hooliganism? Hooliganism. Yeah.
To an extent, yeah, because if you look at some of the videos, I don't know if you guys have seen maybe the last World Cup when India played Pakistan.
Yeah.
There were videos of when one team lost, they would go like beat the other supporters up, or for example, they'll start smashing TVs and all sorts of stuff.
It becomes
so
a violent problem.
It does become really bad, especially for the team that's lost, because they then take their frustrations out.
Yeah.
I've also, Vic, suffered something very similar. The school I went to was predominantly Muslim. They're predominantly Pakistanis. And so when India ever played Pakistan, it was always a big hoo-ha about it, and sort of it did.
It's like who has the most people. You know, it becomes like the fight on the field.
yeah, it does, exactly. But then the question stands: where does it come from? Now, I personally believe it's fueled from history. So the partition, for example, and everything that happened between there. Yeah. But we're in 2020 now, and I know it's 47 isn't a long time ago, and for our parents and stuff who were probably young at that point, they'll still remember all the turmoil and the trouble that they went through. But like we spoke about in the previous episode, racism is technically, it's taught and it's learned. It's not, you're not born racist. So do you then feel that our parents play a problem in that aspect as well, and that's why the racism between Indian and Pakistanis still exists? Because you know what, guys, it does.
So yeah, I do believe that parents are part of the problem, majorly definitely because of the fact that I think because of what they experience coming to this country and having to deal with it, in some way they've projected that onto us, their kids, you know, to be more aware of the racist aspect. So then essentially we kind of take on their mindset and use that as growing up.
But that's always going to happen because you're always going to be a product of your parents. No matter what, your parents will always influence you in some way.
But it's not always good, is it?
No, of course.
And
it's
that's
also
definitely
your
not a good
environment.
thing.
It's also your environment, like who are you hanging out with? If you're hanging out with people that are making subtle racist jokes, and that's where it comes from. It doesn't come from, as an Asian parents, we don't like Pakistanis, or we don't like whatever race is out there. It's like subtle digs, and that's where it comes from.
But my issue with the whole situation is, I can understand as maybe children, and as when you're young, you basically you're a sponge, you absorb everything from your parents, and therefore, that's where it comes from. But there comes a point where you're an adult, and so therefore you're old enough to realize that actually those views are wrong, yet they still don't change. Like, I don't know if you guys know, but Paki bashing or like Indian bashing was a big thing, and it probably still is, where like groups of guys will go out and they'll see someone of a Pakistani origin or of Indian origin,
and they'll probably be drunk and
beat them up for the sake of it, just purely because they're of a different sort of background.
Yeah.
But they're adults, so it's like, come on, you guys can't be that stupid. Where even at the age of 20 plus, you're still making that decision.
We say that, but unfortunately, they are that stupid.
No, but so then I can understand the parents, the blame lying with the parents to an extent. But you've got to also say you can't completely blame them, because you make your own decisions.
I never understood the hate that people have when someone is different to them. I've never understood that.
But you know what the worst thing is?
I know what that is. I think when someone sees someone different to them, it's that they don't meet their expectations or how they should be.
But there are people that are different to me, or there are people that do things that I don't like. But I'm not going to go and beat them up.
Well, this is the thing. It's a matter of superiority and pride as well, isn't it? Because they want to be seen as the top dog.
But for it to be that fair that you're going to inflict pain and sometimes life-threatening injuries onto somebody, like. That's a lot. Have you ever been in a fight where you kind of, or an argument where it's getting heated, and you say things, but for you to bring yourself to hit somebody out of anger and hate, that's a lot.
But do you know what the irony of the whole thing is? We treat, well, and when I say we, I mean Indians and also Pakistanis, because we both do it, is we treat each other like we're completely different. But we're the same land. It's just there's a divide through it now.
Yeah.
The cultures mix
very,
over.
Very similar, aren't they?
They literally, there are certain cultures that they've taken. They listen to Bangla music. They watch Bollywood films, Mendi nights and stuff.
A lot of our terminology and words are actually very similar. Or sometimes
wouldn't you
use
argue
them.
that's exactly the same as Northern and Southern Ireland, or the Republic of Ireland?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where it is the same land, it's just been divided, and
but they live in peace, right?
The top half are Catholic, and the Republic of Ireland are Protestant.
Is that what it is?
I think
it might be the other way. Actually, I'm not too sure on this, to be honest.
Okay.
No, because the Church of England is Catholic.
Oh, fine, okay.
And then the Republic of Ireland is Protestant, and because they're a different religion, and Northern Ireland is part of United Kingdom, but Republic of Ireland is its own individual state or country. There has been years and years of mass hate between them, where a Northern Ireland boy or girl could not marry a Republic of Ireland boy or girl, which is a very similar story to what's happening in India.
Yeah.
I mean, when you say that, this place becomes a place of hate, it essentially is an emotion that gets acted upon. Like, you dislike another person, you start hating them, and it becomes an issue overall. The actual place, the land that you live on, is all one. However, you start to turn that into somewhere where other people won't like it because they see that as a problem all the time. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like you just get lost in...
You've just spurred a thought. So, historically, the differences between Muslims and Sikhism and Hinduism, and when I say differences, I mean like the negative differences that they face, is because of the Mughal Empire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Between the Mughal Empire and all of that era, sort of the Maharajas and whatnot, from then to during the British Raj of India as a whole, were there any major differences between Muslims and Sikhs?
Not
that I know of.
There never was. Like,
they're all seen. There was a sense of unity, right?
Exactly.
Then my thought here is, or my point is, it's all of this is caused by politics.
Yeah, it's been caused by the British.
Politics is usually the thing.
Which in some sense politics, isn't it?
Which is stupid, right?
Which is stupid. It's all it is fucking politics.
And you know what? I think this is why I'm so not into my politics. Like, when people are like down to voting and talking about, you know, elections and stuff like that, I don't like to get involved because I don't have a big opinion on politics. And I know that some people do, but it just becomes a problem. There's always something.
I'm saying from the perspective that, you know, politicians come into run because they have a manifesto to govern and to make
rules, make new
and changes into infrastructure and environment so we can have a better living. You'd never think that a politician is going to be responsible for the mass genocide. Is it genocide? Genocide of, you know, lots of people, and it was fueled by hate. If a politician said we hate that race for this very reason, look at Hitler. Hitler fueled the hate of Germany. That you know, the hate that they had for Jews. It's top down, isn't it?
Again, though, this takes away from, you know, it being between a brown person issue. It's like, is there? Have you guys ever heard of racist issues between Bengalis and Pakistanis?
I have, but it's not as bad.
I mean, going to a lot of weddings and stuff, I've seen that sometimes if you don't identify the crowd or whoever it is as Pakistani and you accidentally assume that they're Bengali, they'll get offended.
Really?
Yeah. Because again, it's a superiority thing.
Yeah, see, I can't really say I've experienced that, but I can imagine it could potentially be a problem.
Again, this is an issue of belief, religion. We are all brown. It's not a race issue. I think this is what people forget.
It's not about colour.
It's not about the colour.
This is what I'm saying.
It's about the belief.
This is what I'm saying. It's top down. It's that belief has been manifested by people in power.
Yeah, because it's told that we're told to think that this is the right way to believe and this is what we should believe. But then if you're still brown but you choose to believe something different, you're
easy path.
Then you're incorrect. And then that's where that feud starts to build.
Yeah.
You know? I think that's a big substantial issue right now.
But then there are also current issues that are sort of fueling this as well. So, for example, the fight of India and Pakistan when they fight over Kashmir, for example, that's fueling a lot of the racism that we suffer here. So I don't know if you boys remember the story about the Gurdwara that in Derby that got attacked.
Yep, I remember.
And the guy that attacked it was a Muslim man, and he basically wrote a note saying, give us Kashmir or something, and this will stop, or otherwise this is because of the fight between Kashmir. And it's so even today. But
see, sorry to cut you off, but see that happens. But then also there's really beautiful moments when you see Muslims helping Sikhs rebuild their Gurdwara, and also Sikhs helping Muslims rebuild their like mosques,
or like helping each other in other ways.
Yeah, which is how it should be. I remember seeing this very iconic photo of a Muslim man and a Sikh man hugging, and they're like best friends, from childhood. That's how it should be. From like this day and age, we have too much ego and too much, I guess, self-righteousness to even comprehend thinking, we can be friends. When I was young and I was in primary school, one of my best friends was Muslim.
Yeah, I had that, to be fair, as well.
Great guy.
But the thing
but then when I went home and my dad knew that my friend, one of my best young friends was Muslim, he was like, don't hang around with him too much.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
And why was that? What is it in your dad's head that
just because he's Muslim?
But this is the thing. When you're young, you don't really know.
Did you question it?
Yeah, you don't really see differences between people.
Well, I didn't stop being friends with him.
Okay.
Oh, very good.
If I still see him about, like I still know, you know, where we used to live down the road, and you know, if we bump into each other, you still say hi. You know, if anything, we've just drifted, which is natural. That's normal. But I always remember it was just kind of one of those things, like, oh, your best friend's Muslim.
I don't know if this adds any value to this conversation, but as you know, we're recording this on the 12th of September, right? Yesterday was 9/11.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's been 19 years since 9/11.
Damn, 19 years.
Yeah, I know, right? And there are a lot of sort of social media posts, and there's one that caught my eye in particular, and it was, yes, the 9/11 attacks were beyond belief and beyond, you know, what anybody would ever want to see in a lifetime, and you know, it's horrible acts of terrorism. But it also said, don't forget all the Muslims and Sikhs, and it was a Sikh man who was the first attack in retaliation for 9/11, where a Sikh man was beaten and killed.
Oh, I saw this
retaliation
post.
for 9/11.
Right.
I haven't got a point there. I'm just saying that.
No, it is. I think it is something that we need to.
I think actually I'm making a point.
Yeah.
Other races see us as one.
Yeah.
But we have differences between us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually very, very true. And Vic, you brought up a very interesting point about the racism between religion. So it's fueled also by religion. You know, you said you're Hindu, right? And your friend was a Muslim, and your dad wasn't really happy with that.
Yeah.
That's so common, and that's quite disgusting as well, considering again we are in the 20th century and we still see that. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard of cases of, for example, I want to say pedophilia, but like, have you heard of the cases of like when Muslim men go to Sikh schools and they groom kids and the thing is, I don't know if it happens on the other way, but I'm pretty sure it does. But it's always highlighted when Muslims sort of go to schools and try to convert kids at a young age and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that's also a problem.
But to your point, does that happen where Sikhs do the same with other religions?
Well, I don't know, but I'm going to assume so, because you can't just purely blame one religion. But again, the point I'm trying to make is it's racism that's fueled by religion as well. So now, how much of a problem is religion?
I think it is a big problem. There's issues between Hindus and Sikhs as well, and I'm Hindu Punjabi. I don't know what to think.
But that is fueled by politics.
Again, yeah.
That is fueled by politics. All this bullshit that Modi's doing to Punjab.
Yeah, exactly.
That is fueled by
is a big
politics.
Problem. Yeah.
Arguably, 1984 was the attack on Harmandir Sahib and the Golden Temple was fueled by politics.
Mm-hmm. And even now, if I ever like see, I guess, a lot of posts that are going up, and there's some videos of some guys talking, you know, about this issue, they say that there's always been it's always been caused by Hindu extremists, and I'm sitting there like, I'm Hindu, but I'm Punjabi. I'm not Sikh, but I do adhere to that culture a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, what am I supposed to think? Am I supposed to feel good and bad?
Yeah.
Am I supposed to feel angry and, you know, the issue at the same time?
Do you know what?
As the problem?
India, I'm sorry, but India is fucked up.
India is corrupt and fucked up. They are.
Like, look at all this shit with...
Like, I don't feel safe going there.
Yeah, I don't feel safe going
This
there.
is why I haven't decided to go back.
Like, there's been a lot of stuff, and unfortunately, and I do feel bad about this, I don't know a whole lot about this, but all this stuff about this free juggy stuff that's going around.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's gone on longer than it should have.
Do you have some context to that?
Should have been.
So what I know is he was a Scottish national who went to India to get married. Now the story is he was involved in. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, but he used to basically make awareness on what was happening in India in terms of Punjab and the Khalistani movement and sort of the clashes between Hindus and Sikhs and.
So he was speaking truths.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Now he went to get married back in November, and he was kidnapped by the Punjab police or the Indian police, and he's been detained there. And now it's been over 1,000 days since he's been in prison. He's been tortured, he's been brutally attacked, and there's just no end to when he's going to be allowed out. And that's a very good point that Sunny's made, because I think that's awareness that we should be bringing on this podcast. That because it's not spoken about, it's not shown in the British media, it's not really spoken about in the Indian media as well.
The thing is, the main place where I see all this stuff is Instagram, and what is that going to do for people? Because all people do on Instagram is like and share posts.
Well, it's supposed to raise awareness.
It's supposed to raise awareness. I get
if it wasn't for Instagram, I would
get
not
that,
have known about the free juggy movement.
You know how annoying it is when you have social media. You're talking about something, but then you're still helpless. You can't do anything like physically.
No, and the biggest issue with all of this is the British haven't actually got involved, and he's a British national. Now, there's an argument of the British aren't getting involved because they need to secure their own trade deals with India, and they don't really want to upset India and all the rest of it. But it goes back to the corruption and all the rest of it that's in India. It's just a shit situation because he's been stuck in prison for over 1,000 days now.
You know,
1,000 days.
What did you say he was doing? He was
getting married.
No, he got married in India.
What was he talking about?
Oh, I think it was to do with the Khalistani movement in India.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean,
you know what?
Probably speaking truth. I'm not, and
you know, if the moment when someone starts speaking truths and they start actually smartening up, they start realizing what's actually going on around them. People know what happens.
People start shutting them down.
This is what people claim happened to Nipsey, as well. Nipsey Hussle, as a man who spoke about real issues and started smartening up about what's going on, like in terms of the government and things happening that won't really get spoken about because it started to become like a normal,
basically a whistleblower.
Yeah. So because he started realizing things, he got killed because of that.
Yeah,
to shut him up.
But so this is the thing, that racism exists in India so badly. So we've spoken about between Indian and Pakistani, we've spoken about between Sikhs and Muslims, but then it's also within India as well. So, the Sikhs will argue that Muslims are attacked in India as well. Like, yeah, it is such a shit country right now because of the amount of racism that goes on there. But again, Sunny's right, it's fueled by politics. It's the politicians out there that are saying, this is what's right, this is what's wrong, and people are sort of going along. But what I can't seem to understand is, as adults, you can make your own decisions. You can tell between what's right and wrong. So why do people still do it?
If only we could, because the media is so involved.
Yeah, but the thing is, even if
say that question again.
So for, we've agreed that to an extent that the politicians are what fuel racism within the country, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's between countries or whether it's between religions. But as adults, you can make your own decisions. And so you should know between right and wrong. You're not children. So why do people still follow it?
I guess people just are influenced, right? They're influenced by people. Oh, and politicians do a lot of scaremongering, like, oh, if we don't suppress these people, they will rise up against us, and this will happen, and that will happen.
But it's happening now. They are rising up. There has been a lot of.
But it's
scaremongering, shut down though,
right? Scaremongering.
Like the amount Muslim again, it's not shown in the news, but Muslims in India are being tortured just as much as Sikhs are.
Yeah. Like if you look at how the journey. I know this roughly, and if there are any historians listening to this, don't quote me directly, but the way Hitler got to where he was is he didn't say, oh, I'm gonna kill millions of Jews and create a world war. He said, I'm going to make Germany a superpower. I'm going to make its economy strong. I'm going to build an army. I'm going to do all of these things for the German people. And the Germans believe all of this. And they buy into it. And they think, yes, sometimes this guy has to do some bad stuff to a certain degree in order to, drive like economic strength and economic superiority. But then, people get so sucked up in it, they don't see the red flags. It's like dating someone you know is bad for you. You don't see the red flags, and by then it's too late, and they're already in it. Do you think
that's a matter of like a mass blinding? Like when so many people tend to follow it and understand it, that then others will just be like yes men.
Yeah, like just going with the majority.
Yeah.
Conforming.
Otherwise, because if they don't, then they'll be either punished for it.
Oh no, sorry, they'll be punished for it.
So if they don't conform, they believe that they'll either be punished for it or left out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, I do agree, and you know, people believe safety in numbers. You know, people believe that.
It's a sad truth.
But that's how these politicians do it, and you know, unfortunately, I can't preach to know lots about Indian politicians. I've heard things, I've read a couple of things. None of us are experts in this topic, but it's amazing what politicians get away with.
But I'm gonna bring it back to, like, I mean, we're in East London.
Yeah.
When we go to West London, when we go anywhere around the UK, like, I feel like there's this obvious show of Muslims being together and Sikhs being together. Like, even in East London, there's Sikh gangs.
What do you mean? As in, like, with themselves, within their own
Yes, yeah. So there's not much mixing happening.
No, but it's because we're taught from an early age, oh, they are the enemy. And it's the same thing for them. They're also taught Indians are the enemy. Have you boys seen the videos of...
What makes us... what makes them the enemy?
Well, it's just... but this is it.
It's differences. It's subtle differences.
You know, they're a different nation now. They're a different religion now. They're not the same as us. Have you guys seen the videos of that woman, and then she goes interviewing little kids, and you have little kids saying, oh, I'm going to sacrifice my life for Pakistan.
Oh, when they're screaming down
yeah,
the
yeah. And the thing is, it's disgusting to see, because there was a 7-year-old boy, and I'm saying he's 7 because he looks that sort of age. I don't know his actual age. And he point blank was like, I'm going to sacrifice my life for Pakistan and destroy India. Now, they've been taught at the age of 7 or younger that India is the enemy, right? So that's the problem as well, surely.
That's actually nuts.
And the thing is, the woman that was on the microphone, she didn't correct him. She was like, yeah, that's great. Like, he's going to sacrifice himself for the country. So
literally, she says, as Pav quotes, that's great.
Yeah,
that's
like literally she went, that's great.
Yeah.
To imagine at that age, a child saying that.
I know, it's horrific. How are you teaching a 7-year-old child that India is a bad country and you need to destroy it?
Yeah.
Like, you came from that country. There was just a divide. Otherwise, we were all one. Everybody used to eat off the same plate.
Yeah, I do agree.
Do you know what I mean?
There's not enough being taught about this in the right way.
No,
There's
it's not.
always the focus on the negative.
But it continues on from generation to generation. You know, it's likely this teacher's parent was teaching her the same thing.
Yeah. And it's going to keep carrying on. But that's in India, right? That's in India and that's in Pakistan. But the racism is also in this country where we're all British.
What do you mean?
So, like, for example, when an Indian national, you know, has something against a Pakistani national, or a Pakistani national has something against the Indian national, that's because they are from that country. So naturally, you'd understand why they're what they're taught, and that's why they hate each other.
Yeah.
But in this country, like, when I went to school, everybody was he was a British Pakistani and I was a British Indian. Technically, we're both British. It's not really a direct link to us. Well, it is in some aspects. But do you see what I'm trying to say? Like,
yeah. I get it.
Realistically, like, it shouldn't really concern us as much, but it still does. And I still quite can't understand why that is.
I don't know. I guess is what Vic was saying. It's just a continuation from what their parents are teaching them.
It's that there's ego, there's just issues these days which we sometimes just don't have the answer for.
Yeah, it's
unfortunately,
do you know what? I think it's politics.
I wish it was just that simple to just say, oh yeah, everyone get together.
But an example being, I mentioned this on the last episode. Who's the Prime Minister of Pakistan? Imran Khan. Not the singer of Amplifier.
Or the cricket player.
No, he is the cricket player.
Oh, he's the.
Oh, is it? Is it that one?
Yeah, it's the cricket player. The old
Shut
cricket
up.
player. Yeah. Imran Khan, the cricket player.
Shut up.
Well, he's the ex-cricket player.
Yeah.
Okay, ex-cricketer, now Prime Minister. He paved the way. He made a road basically so people can go to a Gurdwara in Pakistan.
Amazing.
So Sikhs can travel from Punjab to a Gurdwara in Pakistan without a visa or a passport or something like that, something along the lines of that.
Yeah.
And lots of people praised him for that.
That's amazing.
It's a small step.
Yep.
Yes, it's a small step in a very long history. But what I'm saying is, people praised him for it. He made a step in the right direction. It comes from the top down. It's leadership.
Yeah. That actually small step will be a big talking point in the future.
But do you know why?
Exactly.
But do you know why that didn't work out? Because it was only a temporary thing. It was only because of that period. And then also, do you know the trouble that happened when... So apparently it wasn't clear. Now, there were people that went from India to Pakistan to go to the Gurdwara because it was Guru Nanak's... was it? I can't remember how... What was his birthday? Was it his birthday? There was a reason why he went.
It might be for Saki.
No, it wasn't
the
for
550.
Was it the 550? No, I can't remember what the reason was now. I've gone blank. But anyway, so there were loads of Sikh people that sort of went to Pakistan. And what it was you were only allowed to travel from A to B and come back. If you went off course, you were technically illegal. And do you know how many people got in trouble for that?
Because they went off course.
Because they went off course. And there was a massive hoo-ha about it. Now, the other point I want to make is, do you boys know about the issue with when they abducted the Gyani's daughter?
No.
What?
You guys ever heard the story about when
Gyani's daughter got abducted?
Yeah.
When was this?
So this was maybe last year. It was all over. It was all over social media. So there was a Gyani at one of the Gurdwara in Pakistan, and some Pakistani men forcefully converted her and took her home and basically forcefully married her, and she was only like 16 or 17 or something.
The hell?
You don't know about this?
No.
Oh, and then basically,
but I mean, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, like it happened.
Yes.
Yeah, like it. And basically, cut story short, there was a massive hoo-ha about it because she was like, her parents were like, she's too young, she needs to come home, and they were like, well, she's married now, so not. And there was like a massive thing about it. But the point I'm trying to make is, yes, Sunny's right. They're making steps, but it was like taking one step forward and then two steps back, and that's why the problem's still there.
But just to elaborate on my point, if both Prime Minister or the Indian Prime Minister Modi and Imran Khan, the Pakistani Prime Minister, if they both got in a room and say, look, we're going to introduce trade, we're going to, give certain passages, we want to work together, it can be done. It's not impossible.
No, but they're just not doing it. They're purposely not doing it.
And if country men and women are agreeing to it to the point where they're protesting, let them protest. If they're getting violent, arrest them.
No, I completely agree.
So essentially, this is one aspect of the big racial issue between, brown people. It's religious and political, but there's this whole other problem that we're still dealing with, where there's the problem of light-skinned and dark-skinned brown people.
Yeah.
And where the representation is more discriminating than we'd like to see. I think
so. I saw that when I was in Chennai.
Yeah.
So obviously in Chennai down south, majority of the nation are of a darker complexion than the north.
Sure.
And we were talking about how in all the billboards there are all fair-skinned women.
Yep.
Not
just the billboards, TV adverts. There's posters everywhere.
In the media.
Yeah,
and I don't know if it's the same for men or not. I'm not sure. I didn't really notice.
I think so.
Okay. But, and they're just seen as superior and...
more beautiful if you have fair skin.
That's not right, man.
It's an absolute ridiculous fucking thing to say.
And they're selling skin lightening products,
which have been now. I think there was a big petition that went around to stop that. Fair and Lovely, I think it's called. Big petition that went around on Instagram.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody know why Michael Jackson changed his complexion from black to white? I don't actually know why he did that.
I do know. I forgot.
Is it because he suffered racial abuse?
It was, yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
he wasn't happy with how he looked.
I'm going to Google it.
He wasn't happy with how he looked while being black. And I think also he wanted to stand out from his family a bit more.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of his brothers and sisters, So.
But actually, Vic, you mentioned the skin lightening issue that's sort of in India at the moment.
Yeah.
It's obviously fueled by celebrities that endorse these products.
Yeah, and because they get paid a certain amount of money, they're obviously going to say yes to it.
Yeah,
they're not going to turn that down.
Okay, so Jackson seemed to tease his fans about the colour of his skin in the music video Black or White, but the lyrics were no confirmation he was changing his skin colour. According to Jackson, who told Oprah Winfrey in 1993 that the changing colour of his skin was a result of a disease called vitiligo.
Oh, okay. No,
I've never heard of
Did
that.
he have vitiligo?
Have you heard of vitiligo?
Yes.
I've never heard of that.
It's a common skin disease where you lose pigment in your skin.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, is that why you see it on some people where like they'll have like patches of skin where it's completely...
But he's done that across his...
I thought he bleached himself.
I thought it was plastic surgery.
It was plastic.
Anyways, I'm going off the point. I just wondered whether that was to enhance his so-called, and I put this in speech marks, appearance by being lighter skinned.
But I'm pretty sure that would have played a part in other people, maybe black people, that would have said, actually, do you know what Michael Jackson's done? I want to do that too. I want to become lighter in skin.
I mean, he is a role model or was a role model for thousands or millions of people,
Like,
shall I say?
what do people call him? The king of pop?
Yeah, he's the king of
Would
pop.
he still have been called the king of pop if he was black?
I think he was called the King of Pop before he became white.
Really?
Mm.
Was he?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty
I
sure.
don't,
this is the
I
thing,
don't,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
actually
Yeah.
know, but
Yeah.
just
It's interesting to think about, for sure.
But the thing is, even though Michael Jackson, whether he bleached himself or whatever, and you see him as white, like I still see him as a black person.
He's still, Michael
Do
Jackson.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I still
do,
see him as a black person.
I see him as a white person.
No, because I know,
He's white.
I know.
Listen,
he was
guys,
black.
it doesn't matter if you're black or white.
Is that the song?
Okay.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
That's the song, Black and White.
Oh,
It is.
oh, was that what that was?
Yeah,
Oh my god.
it's one of his
Okay.
songs.
Anyway,
But going back to the skin light thing,
Yeah.
stuff. So Vicky, you made a very good point.
So Bollywood is a big player in this. They have influenced a lot of youngsters to believe that if they're not light-skinned Indian, then they're not beautiful. There's a case I think I heard of when a young girl who watched Bollywood movies or also saw these adverts started scrubbing at her skin, trying to make herself lighter until she bled, like her skin was bleeding,
Jesus.
because she believed, and she was crying. She was like, I want to be lighter. Otherwise, people think that I'm ugly.
Yeah, it has a
Serious?
massive impact. Doesn't
It's
it?
a big impactful, like mental impact, especially on the youngsters.
But was it because she wanted to be liked by more people, or was it because it opens up opportunity to jobs?
I think this girl was being bullied because of her skin, like because she was like said, oh, that she's ugly because she's darker skinned.
Oh,
And you know this as well, yeah. The amount of weddings we've gone to, I think I've brought this up before, but brides turn themselves maybe 2 or 3 shades lighter
Oh yeah.
at weddings on their wedding day.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, makeup.
I went to one of my cousin's wedding, and honestly, I didn't recognize the bride the next day. I didn't know who she
You
was
recognize your own
because she was that much darker, and I thought to myself, it's not, she doesn't look bad because she's darker, but then why did you make yourself so much lighter during the wedding?
It's strange, isn't
I
it?
have to say, like,
It's weird.
I have to say, there are some beautiful dark-skinned girls. out there.
Yeah, I've seen
Absolute,
some
yeah.
They
absolute
are like Indian or from an African background or from an Indian background or like a
I've got a lot of friends who are models who are like
Oh, easy, pal. Easy, babe.
embracing
Easy,
the dark skinned factor and making it more of a known fact.
I think they're just stunning. Like,
Yeah,
and
I've seen
I think
some
Yeah.
I
absolute
think more
stunners.
people need to tell women from a young age of any complexion that you are stunning just the way you are.
And that and this is the thing. It's just not with all that media and stuff happening in India and Bollywood.
However, I am seeing a change. I am seeing more advertisements on television showing less perfect, but less women
Yeah.
and men for that matter with perfect
body
bodies
shapes, sizes, and all that.
and actually, having women of different complexions,
Mhm.
of different builds, and body shapes, but staying away from the body shape and the body image conversation for now. Maybe we can cover that another time. We mentioned the king of rock. Sorry, king of pop.
Mm-hmm.
What about the queen of hip hop? Beyonce. So something that came out recently about her. Maybe you know better than me.
There's a Bollywood song that included some lyrics about how basically saying that Beyonce would be ashamed or embarrassed if she saw a white person. Is that correct? Kev, can you bring up the lyrics?
Almost like talking. I think it was a male talking to a female saying, It's saying you look so good. Even Beyonce will be ashamed of herself because of your light skin.
Yeah, that was it.
And Beyonce's fucking good-looking woman.
Yeah, she wasn't happy about this.
Yeah, I don't blame her. But the thing is if you look at Bollywood, for example, all of their background dancers they use.
They're all white, bro.
White. Yeah, as in
bro,
not as in honestly, fair skin. They're like English or.
Honestly, I only recently realised this more because I watched back on some old Hindi movies that I remember loving from my childhood. And
do you want to name a few?
Like Kal Ho Na Ho, I don't know, any like Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. They're brilliant movies, right? But then I watched like the backup dancers. They're not even Indian.
No,
some of them are. Most of them are European.
Yeah,
and they're all light skinned.
There was a documentary on the BBC a little while ago with Anita Rai. Was that her name? Anita Rani, sorry, her name is. And she went to Bollywood, and even she was like, all your backup dancers are all white. And they were like, because that's what sells. That's what people see.
Do they stupidly believe that the main character, the main actress, or whoever it is will stand out more amongst the white people as the main lead?
Literally don't know. Man.
Yeah, I
they
don't
still
know
put Squid Lightning makeup on them anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible. But it's sad that this still exists in this day and age. And
so now what's happening are Indians or is Bollywood in general apologizing to Beyonce for this?
The thing is, but Bollywood I think can apologize all they like. That's one issue amongst so many other things that they're doing. You know.
But who's making changes to change this?
Why would they make change if they're making millions, billions?
It's the thing, isn't it?
But the thing is,
it comes down to money again.
But the thing is, when controversy starts playing a part, they have to then start changing stuff. Otherwise, they start looking bad. So I don't know if they're gonna change anything. Obviously, because of this whole COVID situation, I'm not sure what the film industry is like at the moment. Only time will tell. But I imagine they'll slowly start changing things.
Yeah. You know, I always thought like one individual protesting has no effect. But when you think of it in that sense, one individual protesting against the use of fairer models and dancers in Bollywood has a knock-on effect, inspires others, and soon you have a movement.
Yeah.
And then after that movement, you have tens and thousands of people across social media, demonstrating what's going on. And do you know what? And that's how you make changes, right?
You know what? I watched Beyonce's documentary where she's doing a lot of rehearsal and practice for some shows. I think for her Coachella show. And she makes it a point of all of her backup dancers or anyone that's, performing with her, that they're all African American or black.
Really?
Yeah. Because she's proud of it and she wants them to be to have more of a spotlight.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, that's good on her.
To expose that talent, I think like she's doing a good thing there.
Having said that, think about some of the Bhangra videos that we see and the models that they use. Sometimes they're white.
That's true.
Some of them are.
Sometimes, and if they're not white and they're Indian, they're very fair-skinned Indians.
I do wonder what it's like for somebody who doesn't speak Punjabi to be sitting in a Bhangra video.
They're probably told there to sit, laugh, and enjoy, and act like they, understand.
Yeah, strange.
Or that they're being like,
But boys, there's a common theme in all of this. So we've spoken about racism between Indians and Pakistanis, Sikhs and Muslims, Hindus and Sikhs, even the skin lightening stuff, the Beyonce stuff, all the racism that's involved so far, and discrimination that's involved so far. It's all taught. Everything is taught. Whether you're taught from your parents, whether you're taught from the media, whether you're taught
from politicians,
it's all taught.
Yeah.
So I think it's fair to say one of the biggest issues and one of the best ways to resolve this would be
unteach
or
unlearn.
Exactly.
Big up Humble the Poet.
Yeah, Unlearn. He's got a book out.
You know what?
Doesn't
he? He is very much inspiring youngsters to understand that there's a lot that we've been taught that we shouldn't.
Humble the poet, given his background, the way he looks,
he's been through a lot. I like Sonny. Me and you went to his
show.
It's
London.
like a seminar thing.
Yeah, but just to finish my point. He's way ahead.
Oh yeah.
He's like from what he's bringing. He's telling Punjabis, a room full of Punjabis, Indians, Muslims, in a room, saying, you know, I dealt with anxiety, I dealt with depression. You know, what you see on social media isn't actually what the reality was. Where he openly says, you could see me on social media flying to different countries, but I was broke and in debt.
And owed people nearly over 30,000?
Yeah, he owed 30,000 in debt.
Oh, shit.
And that pressure was mounting. He had no money. People may be flying him over, but he was flying, but he wasn't getting paid. And that's, you know, success is also perception, isn't it?
Sure.
For some people, that's success.
Anyone else in that situation being flown to places and having that much money in debt, bless you, Sonny.
Excuse me.
Could potentially think about taking their own life because of the situation that they're in.
Yeah.
You know, it's a tough place to be in mentally. Like, you know, having this fully fast-moving lifestyle, but having zero in your bank account. You know, it's tough to deal with because how are you supposed to feel about that?
And on the flip side, you have lots of people that don't drive a nice car, don't flaunt on social media, don't have the latest whatever, but have a huge bank account, have a house, have their debts paid.
Happiness, like actual original, like, you know.
You know?
But yeah, coming back to, I mean, Unlearn is a great book.
Yeah, so we've gone on a bit of a tangent.
Yeah. He definitely touches on these strong quotes where we start to understand that there's things that we don't need to live by, that the things that we're taught when we were younger.
So I think I think it's fair to say that's one of the potential solutions to racism in this day and age is to firstly unlearn the bullshit that you've been taught.
And once you've unlearned, you need to put yourself in a position to make a difference, and that is being in a position of political influence of some sort, or
think for yourself.
Yeah, like, you know, these are the people that we need to run our countries and to build our policies.
Because they understand us.
And to build our foreign policies, because these are the people that understand, actually, I've just unlearned all this bullshit that has been there for 50, 40, hundreds of years. And I understand that the way to move forward is to actually work together with our neighboring nation.
Yeah.
And not see them as the enemy.
Because living by that or trying to implement those rules that were 40, 50 years ago, that how can you apply that to today? So much is changing literally every day, every week.
But you made a point, didn't you, earlier on, that it's all ego, it's all like people just stick to their ways, and they don't want to move away from that. And let's be very honest, boys, change is one of the hardest things for people.
Because you have to accept it.
But like we've agreed in the first part of the episode, in episode 1, before you can fix the problem, you need to first accept that the problem exists. And I think that's the biggest problem, because even though we know it's there, we're just not accepting it's there. Like if you go to up to a
how many people are naturally denial, about
like,
things that people, when someone tells them they're a certain way, people are like, really? Am I?
You can go up to like a Pakistani or an Indian person and say, you know what, you're racist. And he's going to be like, no, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
But he'll find a way of justifying it.
Yeah, but then deep down, you know, he'll be having his actions or what he'll be teaching his children or whatever will be fueling the racism in the first place.
Absolutely.
But slowly and surely, people of minorities, people who have unlearned, are slowly creeping up the ranks. As we've seen, there are senior members, there are sort of Sikhs who are in senior positions within the cabinet in the British Parliament and in the Canadian Parliament. You've got Sadiq Khan, who is the Mayor of London. Who would have thought that? You know,
true.
How long you've had a black president.
You've had the in Canada, what's his name? Is he the Ministry of Defence guy?
Yeah, the Ministry of Defence. Yeah. The Singh.
Oh, you've got is Jagmeet.
Yeah, that's the guy.
That's the guy. Yeah.
So slowly and surely, these people are creeping up, and I've seen videos of them being really open in their settings of Parliament, speaking about racism. And I've seen videos where there's somebody in the British Parliament, and forgive me, I don't know his name, who's talking about how being called. The Singh, how from a young age he was racially abused about his turban, and how he's heard people throw derogatory terms at women in burqas, for example. And these things need to be addressed, need to be spoken about. And
so, do you remember in the previous episode? And I'll keep referring back to episode, the first part of the racism. So if you haven't heard it, please listen to it so you'll know what I'm getting at. But we mentioned the education system and how racism wasn't taught. I don't know if you boys remember that, but I was just thinking about the conversation we've had today about the racism sort of between Indians and Pakistanis and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we're taught about the partition and we're taught about everything. So is racism then, now I'm beginning to beg the question, do we need to be educated on it?
Educated from what sense?
So like, for example, in episode 1, I remember specifically we made the point that racism, sort of like the slave trade and the British Raj, wasn't taught in education in schools in this UK.
Like in religious education, RE and stuff. Yeah.
So we basically don't get taught of how bad it actually was and how bad racism actually is and the effects of it. But then now I'm thinking about, when I think about the partition, I mean, we're all taught about the partition. I mean, my parents told me about the partition. There's films on the partition. Pakistanis, for example, their parents will obviously tell it from their side of the stories, and there's people still alive that tell you the stories. So we're still being educated on it, but the racism still exists.
Okay, so have either of you seen House of Cards?
No.
I've seen a few seasons.
It's Kevin Spacey, political, about how governments are run and whatnot. So there's a part, to your point, Pav, there's a part in there where some news leaks, or some news is about to leak, and the president's press advisor has gone, if you leak it yourself, you can control what's out there. If somebody else leaks it, you have no control. And to your point, if we allow parents to teach their children about history, they'll teach it from their perspective, and they'll teach it from a subjective and biased perspective, and they'll teach it in a way which isn't necessarily right. But if we teach both sides of it and teach it in a way which offers progress, we're able to control how this is perceived in generations to come. So if it was part of religious education, where it fucking should be, because at the moment religious education is a bit of a joke subject, let's be honest. It's fucking bullshit. If it was part of religious education, where they've gone, this is what's happened in history, this is why it happened, and it wasn't because there was hatred between two nations. It was because there was a political imbalance which caused confusion. That's what happened in the split of India and Pakistan, right?
Yeah, because
if it was taught properly and people were able to understand
more than one side of the story,
it was, the message is controlled. This is a message we're delivering to you. People think, okay, cool. Well, I shouldn't hate my neighbor who's Pakistani or white or black or whatever color, background or religion or sexual orientation for that matter. I understand it in context. At the moment, we're being taught out of context.
That's a fair point.
We're being taught things that they want us to know.
So we're basically being taught an opinion.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to disagree with an opinion.
Yes, you are, Pav, aren't you?
Why have you got to bring that up?
We were having a debate about this earlier, but that's irrelevant.
No, that's a fair point. So, yeah, education. Then I'm sure we can all agree on this, that education is important, but it's like
it needs to be delivered in the
properly.
right way, and it needs to be controlled.
That's another potential solution to this issue. And obviously, I hope whoever's listening, and even us going forward, when we do have children, we don't teach them racism.
So essentially, we've identified the issue, and we know that there are actually good things and good people out there who are trying to make the change.
Of course.
So we definitely need more people like that, and hopefully in the future things become better.
And of course, if you've ever come across anything like this and you wanna share it with us, we can keep your identity.
Can I just make one last point? So then, if someone comes across someone who is racist, should they speak up about it and actually confront them?
Absolutely,
I think
because
so.
that
Yes.
person needs to be educated.
That needs to happen a lot more, and in brown communities as well, because it's honestly don't worry about what next man is going to say.
100%.
Well, that's the problem in the brown community. We just don't speak about it.
And it's like, oh, don't be disrespectful to speak to your parents or your cousin or your auntie or your uncle like that.
They need to learn.
No, tell them.
Trust me. If you say something and you tell them they're wrong, they'll never step to you again.
Yeah, for sure.
And just on that point, if you have come across anything and you have been in a situation or you're having an issue at work, let us know. Get in touch. We'll keep your identity confidential if you wish. But we'd love to hear what experiences you have had.
That would be great.
DM us, message us, whatever. Send us a video if you want, whatever. And we'll talk about it. We'll share it. Any final comments, guys?
No, nothing from me.
Vic?
No, I love that.
This has been a great second part to our racism conversation.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the In the Group Chat podcast, and you are listening to Vic, Sunny, and Pav, and we're out.
Okay, bye.